Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the mentfx Private Mentorship. In the most recent, let me actually do it like this. Here we are. So in the most recent application material, currently if you're watching this kind of step-by-step, this is of course only for the private, but if you've gone through 1 through 7, we did basically every single day on NQ. But in looking back at NQ today, especially with the fact that I've seen a few members say like they might have gotten chopped up a little bit, maybe even lost some funded accounts for potentially emotional reasons, because of course, like, if you are in a funded account or you're trading, you should be using what's in the portal material to do so in regards to risk management, proper risk taking. So you shouldn't be losing accounts off choppy days, but you know, taking a look at this, especially on a 1 minute, if you just kind of mark the beginning of the day, 9:30 till around 4 p.m., like for the most part, I kind of agree, right? This is a generally choppy market. There's a market that might have presented opportunity, might have not presented an opportunity. The opportunity that might have been present would probably end up getting chopped up. So the real question is, what could that look like on an actual day? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to executing the exact same rules, go back to like 9:29. We're going to look to execute the exact same rules we have in the last few videos. Actually, you know what? I'll change it up right now, and I don't know if I should, because it might be confusing to someone that's watching through the application material, but just so you guys know, for my personal system, right, all I do is I break even quickly, and that's really it. And then I partial into strength and partial the rest as a trail / weakness, right? So partial into strength, let the rest trail into, well, go into more strength and then trail into weakness. But for this specific application of material in the last few videos, what I've done is I've taken that 50% partial at 1-to-1 just for the demonstration, right, to allow price to play around a little bit but still be in the move, because when we're on a lower time frame, we don't want to be potentially executing as many times because we're paying a lot more for slippage and commissions. But what I will do is I'll actually retain the same rules, so everything is very clear, and look at the day today on NQ in this specific case on our same lower time frame EVC. So that's entries on a 10-second, a 1 minute validation, a 10-minute context, and work from there. Now, of course, we know that the daily or a higher time frame bias has still been very much in one spot, right? And that is to continuation. So at the moment, you know, you could have either the approach of price needs to go sideways and then go up, or is ready to go up. So either way, right, for the most part, I have a very solid kind of idea on what I want to be doing on this. So I'm more than happy to continue looking for longs, just like I have through each day from the beginning of this application of the lower time for videos from like back here. So we'll start with the 10-minute and see where we are just before the market opens. So this is just before the market opens. And as you can see, in this case, right, we're kind of going through what appeared to be an accumulation. Maybe we started a little cycle here, and now we're just literally chopping around right now under the MAs, breaking down into distribution without ever being in any stage 1 or accumulation here. So at the moment, right, what I'd wait for before I even touched a lower time frame is for the 10-minute to at least prove some kind of bullishness on this thing, so we can maybe begin to execute an EVC on the lowers. So I'd wait. This would be the market open. Looks like it actually comes down at the beginning of the market. So this is now in a bearish market cycle here, and then maybe moves into a stage 1 and actually moves higher here, and then comes back in and continues to build whatever stage 1 is happening here, right? So again, if we're thinking about this in stage 1, stage 2's 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, right? So every single delivery of the underlying stage 1s and stage 2s, just like the portal material showed, even though it's not perfect, has been for the most part to the downside. And at this time, we haven't really created a reason that price may want to move to the upside yet in any way, right? And we already have the benefit of our higher time frame having been layered into what we would suspect to be a bullish day or generally bullish action. So all I could be doing here right now is simply ignoring it, right? So what's interesting is, after I've seen a lot of the people on the team, or some people on the team, right? Some people did very well for themselves, but some people on the team get really disheartened by today's action, or felt a little bit emotional, like, oh my God, what the fuck's going on, you know? Or they lost an account, or they just made mistakes, right? The question really becomes, you know, what can they do to start staying out of chop, right? So what's interesting is, just through the normal analysis that I'm doing right now, everything is leading for me to stay out because it's chopping and not doing the thing I want it to do, right? So it's just it's one of the ways to view the answer to the question of how do I stay out of chop, right? Well, use your EVC. You might layer it within more, but the general way is you wait for price to actually show you what it wants to do. So now we have our first kind of area where maybe we can consider a potential trade, right? We have this stage 1 here, whoops, we have the stage 1 here that now appears to be moving into some stage 2, which might be the initial accumulation MB through this high. And now we're pausing. We're pausing on a downward sloping / sideways moving 50, which is a little bit problematic because this can oftentimes lead to more chop. However, we are just within the area of a rising 10 and 20. So theoretically, this is one of those moments where, you know, you might see some follow through before continued chop, or before large follow through, which is good because that means we have our first area where it might make sense to start watching this. Now, when I go to the 1 minute here on my V, because now it's started to meet what I wanted to see, we do start seeing some elements of the cycle working here, right? We start seeing the accumulation through the 50 here. We start seeing the accumulation MBs through the 1020, the MMB1 here, which might have been an opportunity for some of you if you traded this, but I would not be trading this because this was still chop and sideways action on the 10 minute. So again, layering that EVC and allowing the EVC to determine for me whether I should be trading or not, and being aware of and allowing myself to miss moves or miss trades because they are not worth my risk until more things are clear. Price moves higher, kind of pauses. Maybe there's a trade in here that then ends up break even. And now you're in this little miniature form of like pretty much sideways kind of chop, right? So what I'd wait for here is maybe a breakdown and then a break back up, or at least a break back up and then a pause. So let's see what happens. So breaks down, that's good. I like that. This is one of those areas where I'd consider now being a part of this because we finally have selling coming in, right? It's not just randomly kind of grinding higher. We're still in a good time in terms of when we could trade. So this is one of those areas where I'd be actually willing to consider an entry. Let's take a look at the 10 second. And it should be, once again, moving from a stage 2. Here's your stage 2 into a flush. That flush should lead to accumulations. You see this? This is extremely ugly like stage 2. This is a stage 2 action, but it's dog shit. And then it flushes out. So now the question becomes, do we want to trade this as part of a continuation of this initial stage 2 right here? Where's my thing? There it is. Here's a stage 2, right? We would have suspected that the next stage 2 would come from here as this flush came in, but then it made a poor stage 2 and then flushed out, right? So at this point, I'd probably consider not trading here, even though it might set up. So even though there might be setups here, you know, probably maybe somewhere here that lead to good entries, due to what's happening here, I might just skip this entirely and wait. So you can see, like, some people might have taken an entry here. Some people might be looking for an entry here, or might even take an entry here and get a break even or something before it either goes or comes back. But I would ignore this because of the context of the overall move, right? So in this case, this is what's showing me now that I probably should consider not trading this at the moment until it kind of improves, right? So maybe we get a better stage 2 or another move higher at some point. So what I'm waiting for now is maybe a move out of this like I spoke about, and then a nice breakdown, or a complete failure, a build up in a new stage 1 into stage 2 later. So maybe something like this to happen here, okay? Right, so here's a great example where, you know, if you continued watching this thing, there's a chance that you could have taken trades inside of the action available in here, right? There's more than likely, and I mean, this goes without saying, there's more than likely entries in here. If we want to look at the E micro, I'm not even gonna draw it in. If we look at an E micro, you're gonna see entries there no matter what, right? And if you think about the advanced cycle as part of the portal, so this is further in the portal material, but you guys should be aware of it, where we think about buy stopping the high beyond the supply line. So all of this will make sense to you after you've been through the portal, right? You do have points of potential areas of entry within the reference of this high in terms of where that is, right? So all these can become potential points of entry, and yeah, you know, some of them do work out and that could be your day, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing invalid about that. And yet, even though I can see that opportunity, I understand that opportunity, I understand that it's there, I am simply not involved in it because I don't have the kind of action that I'm willing to put my money behind because of my own case studying and testing, right? So this is a very, very cool thing to understand, because when you start to think that way, all of you begin to open up yourself to an absurd amount of opportunity, and you also have the added benefit of pure confidence behind anything you end up taking. Okay, so I'd wait here. Maybe we get a little MMB here, but ultimately what we have now is this accumulation, MMB1, MMB2, so this could be MMB2 or 3, and now if we can pause right here, maybe one more candle of a pause, just one more down, yeah, it doesn't really happen, right? So yes, this is like a little MMB that you could have traded. It looks like I'm about to miss it, but that's okay, and I'll wait for that. Okay, so this is action I potentially would trade. I'd maybe give it one more candle, just because I don't really like it when it just wicks above Like this is usually demonstrative of more chop, but this looks actually really good. So this could be MMB3 now, which means we still have upside potential. And this actually might be an area where I might take a trade. And so far, this looks really good, right? You have the stage 2, you have a very nice flush out. So we'll see if we get an accumulation buildup from here. Beautiful flush, beautiful beginning to an accumulation, but then flushes out further. It needs to accumulate now, or it's pretty much lost. Let's look at the 1 minute. Yeah, so you can see the 1 minute flushes. Actually, the 1 minute does flush right to the 20, right? So this actually still looks perfectly fine. This could still be that MMB, which is a good sign. And the 10-second is actually already building accumulation MBs. It kind of has this. This could be an entry already, but based on where it is, I'd probably skip this one and let price maybe build out something a little bit more like this for a trade, so I'll wait. Let's take a look at the 1 second and keep an eye on what's going on the E micro. And again, we'll put ourselves in the same thought process we saw back here, where think about the buy stop of a high in reference to the points that we're moving towards beyond the line of supply, right? So this is the supply line. Demand is clearly coming in a way that is allowing some of that supply to be dried up and rebought up. So at the moment, you know, if we can maybe get some kind of little sideways like this, there could be a buy stop right here available. I'll see what happens. So it comes down very nicely. Yeah, this looks really good. So I'd be willing to take a long through this high, right? Throw the stop kind of under the area. And again, we'll go for the same management we saw before, 1-to-1. So then it just fails down. I would ignore this. This is now continuing to build some accumulation. We could even go back to the 10-second and wait for the double MBs or the accumulation MBs to build, right? You kind of have it being built here, but at this point, you know, I'd wait for it to maybe make something like around here. So we just wait. Okay, nice. There we go. Right, so price builds this kind of accumulation MB, builds this one here, and we are moving into an area that might be worth trading. Let's look at the 1 minute, make sure this is still kind of rising on the 20, and everything makes sense. It is, it's just there on the 20. This could easily start a little move here. I could totally see that happening in reference to running this MMB high and then maybe continuing through the stage 2. So with that in mind, let's look at the 1 second and see if there's another buy stoppable high that I can personally take. And I think this one looks perfectly fine. All right, throw the stop under, look for that 1-to-1 with a tick above, throw it under, and we'll look for that. We get tapped in, we look for the 1-to-1. Wow, okay, so in this case, what is this, 2-19 and Q, we have a plus 0.5 at the moment. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to head back over to the drive link, open this because we've been working on this for a while. And again, this has all been the data for this entire test with the exception of leaving corn in, just to be very honest about just trading the system on NQ with the same exact rules every single time, no other time frames. And you know, this is where we currently, actually this is not where we are because I added these -1s on purpose. I believe these were all added on purpose. So I don't remember where we actually left off. I don't remember 100% where we left off on these, but I think that this looks very familiar in terms of the videos we had before. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just be very honest about this. I'm just gonna double check where we were, where we did actually leave off with this. So let's head over here and 36.6. Okay, we're good. We actually did it just right. So again, I just added a few losses for one of the webinars that we had to demonstrate that, you know, even if the next 8 trades I took were losses, which is a great example of what I'm trying to show here, it wouldn't matter, right? So even today, on a day where everything seems somewhat choppy or moves somewhat choppy, even if the outcome of today was extreme chop and a ton of losses, right? You already get to kind of see that it doesn't matter because all we're doing is following the rules that lead to this over time, right? This is the beauty of trading. Now, in this case here, I would still be waiting now with my stop loss down here, and we just let this thing do whatever. Because again, at the moment, we're just suspecting that price is moving towards this high through the supply line, and we're going to likely, you know, do something like this, hopefully. So we'll see what happens. Nice breakdown, it looks like. Let's see if it moves through the high now. It does, wow. So we take our stop and we move it to break even. So is this today's action? This feels really good. 19th, yeah, okay, we're on the 19th, so we're good. And we'll go back to the 10-second now because I don't really need to be on the E-micro. Now again, if we're looking at the 10-second as the entry time frame, right, what's happening? Well, we're entering through this double MB here. There's another one here, there's another one here. Those are all potential future entries. I just did not take them, right? And again, we're looking for around that 1 to 5, 1 to 4, 1 to 5 area for price to just start making higher highs and higher lows. So we'll see if we can get there or if it just fails down. Looks like it starts making a little move, this 2, so we'll just wait here. Breaks down, and I was gonna say, it looks like it was about to take us out. But maybe it starts a little move, who knows? Let's see. What's this low at? Around 3. So again, I'm just gonna let this thing move through the high, hopefully. We'll see what happens. And there we fail, right? This is... Okay, we move back up. And this moves up to 5 RR up here. This low is 3.5. The midpoint here is 4. I think in this case, what I would do, you know, the stop here, you could do, because this is a higher high, higher low, higher high. So I'm gonna move my stop here. Even though it's a little bit under the 4 RR, just because it's right on the cusp and it's moving through the high, which is the expectancy. And then beyond here, like if it wants to pause and move higher, then good. If it doesn't, then it is what it is. So we do move higher. And what I would do here, because of the rule I had where I kind of want to get the 4 or 5 RR, I would just throw my stop behind here or even halfway inside of this, if that's at least 4, which it is. So we'll leave our stop there and see what happens. See if we move to new higher highs. We don't. We just get stopped out there. And this is unlucky because, you know, it might end up moving higher, but that's perfectly fine. Because, again, we can maybe even get new trades. So 4.62 is a gain of 2.31 plus 2.31 R. And we do not have anything on anymore. So move back to the 1-minute chart. And there's that MMB we traded. There's another MMB that happened here. We have 1, 2, 3. Maybe this is 4 or 3. So we have to be a little bit careful here. But we are definitely in that nice little bias here, in that little nice area. We do pause. Not enough though, and this kind of moves into 4, and you can see it's starting to get a little choppy in here, because it's indecisive. It's not coming down nicely to the average. It's kind of indecisively moving higher or lower. This is one of those moments where like I expect chop now, right, based on this. So let's see what happens. So it moves back, and it kind of fails through the 20, and it looks like it's gone. This now looks like distribution, but once again, in this case here, this is perfect because we want to see distribution after this little leg here, right? Because our money's made inside of these legs, right? These are the legs that we make our money, and that's how trends operate and trends function. We're not here to predict highs and lows. We're just here to simply take the money out of the trend. So now what could happen is price could wait and then reaccumulate, and there could be opportunities in here and here and here and onwards if we get that continuation of a bullish leg. Let's see what we can get here. So you move into this little accumulation here, pushes up, pauses. This was a potential entry for an MMB1. Looks like I missed it by playing it too quick, but that's okay. Yeah, you know, this is preferential for whether or not you want to trade something like this. You know, I would have preferred that it's stage 1 here and then start a little move. This kind of came down deep, then started an accumulation from here, MMB1. I'll just give this time to set up something or go sideways. Looks like I just missed that too. And then it moves into an MMB2. Okay, I went way too quick. This is something I would probably trade and give it a chance. You know, we missed this right here, but these probably presented some viable opportunities. I just want to show you the same thing, because if you start getting used to seeing this, it's just going to become very easy to start spotting what might be an opportunity, right? Supply line, you have the highs that price probably wants to reach 4 and beyond, because that's how stage 2s operate. So once again, like if you think about entries, you have entries, you have entries, you have maybe entries, just, you know, use the highs. And those are all within the grasp of the kind of stage 1 area, and you get the stage 2 delivery. And this, again, for some of you, is your money made on the day. This is all it might take, right? So, and again, remember, this is applicable to any time frames you're trading in any markets. I'm doing it very specifically on NQ because it's something that a lot of people trade. It's something that a lot of people are using to get funded with a lot of firms. It's something that even Ment Funding as a firm, I think, is going to be offering soon as a futures. So, you know, a lot of you lower time frame traders are using this, so I might as well make a little video on it. And specifically on today, I saw some people, you know, getting a little bit confused or getting chopped up out of price. But just looking at this data, like for me, in terms of my system and my entries and my rules, like this looks like it would have been a great day to be a trader. Because, well, these worked out really, really nicely. Quite, you know, like I just missed these because I'm just playing it too quickly. But here we might actually get another trade. So let's take a look. So the 1 minute is coming down again. This is likely MMB 1, 2, probably like 2 or 3. So we're still in a decent spot to potentially trade this. All right, let's look at the 10-second. Wait for this thing to move into accumulation now. It does. Maybe a little pause here. Okay, so it just moves without me. Looks like I missed this. That's perfectly fine. Moves into a new flush. Let's take a look at the 1 minute. Yeah, it moves back into a flush right to the rising 10/20. So we're still good for trades. You know, just kind of paying attention to this little move down here. And it does kind of start building accumulation here. Let's look at the 1 second. Same thing goes as always. Yeah, we'll give this a second to build something up here if it wants to. Looks like it's just failing down. Comes up out of that, fails down. Doesn't really build any accumulation. No MBs to the top side, right? Just big flush out. Maybe it starts going into accumulation down here, but again, I'd want it to come up a little bit. So maybe some sideways is good, and it just fails down. There's just nothing there. And the 1 minute moves into pure distribution. So we went from this beautiful momentum cycle to what appears to be a momentum MB of a higher time frame and is no longer that clear, right? So what I'd want to see now, if I was to trade this, is some sideways action here and then a move higher, right? And again, keep in mind that this is only a demonstration of the stuff that we specifically looked at. I think it was this trade here. And we completely missed these opportunities in here, which I'm sure if you go back over, are phenomenal opportunities in trade. So just remember that as we do this, okay? Let's now continue playing this, see if it now stage ones and starts a little move higher here, or if it wants to do that. It does, I mean, it's just doing this like back and forth thing now, right? Again, what did I show you I wanted? Right, I showed you I want a little bit of sideways, maybe it pushes up and gives us an entry here, or pushes up and gives us a little entry here and goes. But instead, what does it do? It continues a sell-off, goes into like this weirder sell-off, then reaccumulates from all the way down here. That accumulation soars through the averages without creating that accumulation like MB or that area where I can just get in. And again, the actual action itself points to that of potential chop. So it's interesting to see. Pushes up, pushes up. I probably would not even trade up here. You know, this is just, it's just weird action. This is weird action to me, right? I had something I want to see. It's not happening. This just looks like we're in no man's land at the moment. So I would wait. Even if this here works out on as a trade, or this here even, if this even works out as a trade, that's okay. It can work without me. There's nothing about this right now that's showing me that, you know, we're moving in a way that's consistent with what I've case studied as good entry. So I wait. There's your move higher. If it works, that's great. It kind of moves into another MMB. Maybe there's actually a chance to look at something here. So again, you have an MMB, and you know, this was the accumulation, MMB1. So this could be a setup here, honestly. It could be. So we'll look at the 10 second, and see if this develops for anything. So what we do is we flush out after stage 2, we flush out beautifully. We start building what appears to already look like a fine area to buy stop. And taking a look at this, yeah, I mean, I think buy stopping this high is perfectly viable. There we go. Let's see if we get in. Plays around. Still looks good. Still looks solid. We'll look for that 1-to-1 with a tick above. For our basic management, we get tapped in. This is now preference for, you know, I would probably move. Nah, I would do nothing here. I'd probably just let it do whatever. It's fine. Oh, okay. There we go. Great. I was going to say, you had an option there to maybe move to break even, but I didn't really see a good point where it paused and then broke through a high, so I didn't. But you could have moved to break even here and then set another long above here. But since we're on a lower, we have to be cognizant of potentially slippage and spreads and whatever, so I was just trying to be a little bit fair about it. But stop loss would still be here, and we're just in a waiting game now for the exact same thing as always. Move back, move through the high, just like that, and we can then move our stop to break even. And we are back to our same old management, where the goal is now to watch for this to reach to whatever, 1-4, 1-5, somewhere there, and then we'll go from there. So it plays around, and okay, it starts maybe and we're out. And that's it, because we had our stop to break even. Cool. So there you go. We get that stage 2. That stage 2 doesn't want to follow through. We get a breakdown instead. That 10 second goes back into a flush out. The 1 minute, you know, once again, starts building this MB over a little bit of time and starts flushing to the 20. So this still looks quite okay for a potential trade. The 10 second has this kind of stage 2 here. Again, just like we saw before, where was it? Just like we saw before here, right? The stage 2 isn't as choppy as this was, right? Because when this happened, we chose not to trade this or this, even though it worked out, right? I think we skipped these because it just was not clear. So this one's not as bad, but it's also pretty shit, right? When I have something that I look at and I'm like, this is okay, it might be shit, it's pretty shit, it might be good, the easier option is to walk away and wait for something that you're like, yeah, I'm happy to take a trade on this, right? Like, yeah, I'm happy to take a trade on this. We missed this one, but yeah, I'd be happy, right? It's clearer. This is okay, right? Based on how this now plays out, maybe there's a reason to jump down, so we'll take a look. But I would really need to see this like accumulate up here, pause up here, and then there's a willingness. Otherwise, if we get like some kind of choppy thing like this, like I don't even want to touch this anymore, because this is like, this would be a poor stage 2 into a poor accumulation into what then could be an accumulation, but that usually leads to chop, because again, I've done the studying that has shown me that to be the case. So we'll see if this accumulates now, because that's what I want to see. So it does kind of start accumulating. You can see this, right? It flushes out and starts to accumulate, and it builds this little high right here. And that high I'm actually might be interested in buy stopping, right? So if I take a look at this, right, how do we kind of looking here? Maybe we give it a little bit more time. It looks like, yeah, okay. So never mind. It just takes out all the lows, and just like that, this moved from what could be a maybe trade if it kind of set that up in a cleaner way to don't touch this thing. That stage 2 was clearly unclear, and we wait till the next potential opportunity. So again, we moved from what appeared to be a very nice cycle to a pause that we wanted to start seeing build up here, but it didn't, and then it built up down here, and it started to move, and it paused, and we missed these trades, and then it moved up, and then it broke down. We wanted to see it build a new accumulation here to start a new move, and it doesn't do that. It breaks down, then it breaks back up, right? So instead of doing what you'd kind of want it to do, it's doing, right, kind of this. And when that happens, you need to have the contextual know-how to say, okay, maybe I don't want to trade this action, and maybe I need to wait on the sideline. Okay, so I'd wait on the sideline now. I'll wait for a stage 1 to happen. Hopefully this is a stage 1, and maybe it moves into another stage 2 up here that's really clear. And it gets lost again. It loses itself, then re-breaks higher for an accumulation, which, you know, is great. Maybe it wants to set up something. Very ugly action so far. Breaks back down under all averages. You know, there's still a way that you could potentially trade this, but on a day like this, maybe I choose not to because of the way that it's been moving. On a day where if this happened here or here, I may have actually considered to trade this, right? So again, this is one of those options where it's like, you are the sole decider. You are the final frontier of true confidence behind any trade. And any trade that you do take, at the end of the day, is correct, right? Because you're taking it. It's based on those rules. So whether I took this trade right now as I'm recording this or not, it would be correct, the option that I choose. I need that to be very clear to a lot of you, because a lot of you think that because you might do something, but someone else might, or Ment might not, or whatever, that you're wrong specifically. That's not the case. You're only wrong or right based on if you follow the rules that you have established, and if the rules you're actually following now have been proven to be profitable. That's it. So I would ignore this, even though it might go. That's perfectly fine. I wait for new accumulation, and there you go, right? In this case, we do get that move that goes, but I had to miss it. Get that move higher, moves into an MMB, see if it pauses. It does. I mean, there could be a trade inside of here now, right? Let's take a look what happens. 10-second flushes out, starts, actually it looks good right now as it is. I'd probably be willing to take an entry on this thing if it looks okay. I think it does. I think a buy stop through this high, tick above the high, throw the stop under, 1-to-1 with a tick above. See, we get tapped in. We do get tapped in. Same thing goes, we wait. Okay, so this one goes and gives us a little plus 0.5. Now same thing goes as before, right? We know it wants to kind of target this. The supply line has been accumulated from. This is that 10-second double MB accumulation, probably somewhere in here. Whether it's double MB, double MB plus FFMB, doesn't really matter, right? The setup is the same thing on repeat. And again, we wait for a little bit of a pullback here, hopefully. So it moves much higher, very quickly, actually to 3RR or so, moves through this high. So at this point, you know, like you could wait for this and then a move, or you could just move your stop to break even. I think given where we are in terms of the move, the fact we're up at 3RR, you know, we would be waiting for a little bit more of a move. The question is, would you be willing to take your 0.5 and then have it come here and then go? Or would you be okay with, you know, the fact that you're aware that this could easily fail? To me, I think it's fine to throw the stop loss at break even, but for the sake of the rules, I'll let this pull back and then move through the high to be very fair with every video we've had. So we wait, what did this reach? Okay, this reached already 4RR, so I would throw the stop to break even. Because again, we're clearly making the move and there's no point to come back any longer. And if we go back to the 10-second, right, we'll go from here. Again, same thing goes. This was around 2.5. Yeah, so we just wait for a new move higher if we can get one. Pauses, See if this wants to reaccumulate now and start to move higher. If it doesn't, that's fine. We'll get stopped out at break even, and that'll be the entire trade. So we wait, we wait, we wait, and we're stopped out. Yep, that's perfectly fine. And then we sell off heavily, you know, random big sell off after a little bit of chop. I probably wouldn't even trade this. I'd probably give this a second to relax and build something if it needs to, kind of like that. And then here, you know, this might actually be somewhere where I'd consider to take a little something. So let's go back to the 10 second. This would be my lower EVC. You do have this stage 2 still. Then this is a mini stage 2 that's now creating this flush. But again, I'm still judging this trade on this prior action because this move here has not really created an entry yet, or a clear entry that is really delivered. And then you have this buildup of an MB, or the double accumulation MB, or whatever you want to call it, right? And then the high is kind of here. So we'll see if this, you know, if this kind of picks up a little bit. Maybe there's a reason to take a long through this high. There we go. That would tap me in for sure. Throw this a tick below, 1-to-1 with a tick above. There it is, and we look for the trade to do something. So it looks like it misses our 1-to-1 by a little bit, and looks like it might be heading back for, never mind. We take a plus 0.5 on that trade. The stop remains very simply at the actual place down here. And we, again, assume price wants to run this high and then maybe this high because that's the overall like structural leg. And then we want to see that stage 2 continue. So let's see if we get a little pullback here. Kind of moves higher. Watch for a little pullback now. I wait for a little bit more maybe. Kind of just, okay, well, stop loss goes to break even off of that for sure. Move to the 10 second. Let's take a look at what's going on. This day actually seems very, very good so far in terms of action. Like, very good. This is up around 3.8 R, so I would just wait, let this thing do whatever. Pulls back. Moves through the high. What's this low at? 3.2. This is 4. So again, we're reaching around 4 here, so I want to see a new high, and then maybe I can throw a stop behind this low. See if that happens. We do. I can throw my stop right behind this low. That's it. And we do not get stopped out yet. Oh, and we get stopped out. Just like that. So the stop gets stopped at actually 3.67, which is okay. Again, we're just kind of following the rules as we must here. 3.67 over 2 is 1.83 plus 1.83. And let's see where this... Yeah, so that's really unlucky. We could have potentially waited for one more leg just because this was not at 4R yet. That was my mistake, but that's okay. Okay, so the difference would have just been like a stop out up here, or even this low. So everything still works out. And we go back to this, and what are we at right now? We're at 2:50 p.m. on the day, so we're still okay. We move from this stage 1 into accumulation. It's kind of MMB1, MMB2. This might be MMB3, and it's actually still moving in a way that, you know, seems to be really clear. So I jump into the 10 second, see what's actually going on here, see if this wants to build a new accumulation higher. So we get that nice flush. Watch for accumulation. Beautiful push up, beautiful pause, and I think I'd take an entry through whatever is happening. Yeah, I think I'd be more than happy to take an entry through this, throw the stop under, 1-to-1 with a tick above, watch for an entry, taps us in, we watch for it to tap us out or to give us a 1-to-1, and same old management rules. Now we do build this little area here. This is one of those times where, you know, it already seems like it's going to be a -1 no matter what, but what I would do here is I'd throw my take profit here, and my stop loss would still be here, so it's either a -1 now, or it's going to be a +0, or a 0 our trade, and then we could look to re-enter through a high. So we'll wait and see what happens. So it comes down, and it stops. I would say this stops us out, even though I know it's not like going through it. I'm gonna say that stopped us out no matter what. So it'll be a -1. And we'll go back to the 10 second just to watch it, see what's going on there, and see how this looks. Let's go to the 1 minute, see what's going on. 1 minute still looks really good, still on the rising 20, so we still have a chance that this builds up like a move that's worth trading. See what happens. No accumulation, fails down. Go back to the 1 minute. That's our validation time frame. Comes down just to the 20. It could still accumulate up from there. You can see it just came below the 20, but again, the averages and everything are just they are a lens through which we view price, as you have probably heard in the portal a few times, and they're not exact because this could still be bought up on like a 26 EMA, right? Like if you kind of look at this, and this little setup here still in terms of the way it's moving still looks clear to me. So if this can accumulate on a 10 second, I actually would be willing to take a trade through this little area here, right? But it would have to probably do something like that, maybe? Let's see. push up and a pause. This would be good. I'd buy stop this. Okay, good. I'm glad I didn't go through it yet, so we can do it fairly. So again, I'd be more than happy to buy stop this, and I think, you know, this is one of those areas where you're only gonna permit price to give you one loss max, and then you're backing off, because like if this fails, it's probably just gonna fail all the way down. We'll go 1-to-1 with a tick above, see if it taps us in. So it plays around, still looks good. It does tap us in, plays around, starts a little move higher. Does a little pullback here, still looks fine. I don't think there's any, okay, nice. So we get to that plus 0.5, which is our first partial. Again, same thing kind of goes. Wait for a little pullback, or just, if this takes off now, I'll move to break even. If it gives a pullback, then I'll move to break even as it moves through the high. Oh shit. Okay. This day actually looks really good. I think I got the right day. February 19th, 2025. Yeah, so that's today's action, and we're at 2:51 p.m. right now, so we're still good in terms of timing. And this has moved up to 3.4, so we're looking at 4 or 5 RR up here. Let's just see if this wants to get to that. Comes down heavily, and okay, starts coming up. So we're still at around like 3-4 RR, so this is, I just have to play it forward. I'll just let this thing stop me out if it has to. Yeah, it looks like it's about to stop us out. And there we go. And that's it, right? So again, another trade where, you know, we could have made maybe some money, but nothing to do because it stopped us out, and that's fine. That's part of the game that we play. And now, you know, you have a scenario where now we're below the averages are now moving straight down. So it's preference if you want to trade something like this, but I would wait for this to now stage 1 and start another little move here. Same thing as before, and then trade it. So beautiful, stage 1, and again, comes lower than I wanted it to come down, then moves higher, then stage 1s, and goes into what appears to be distribution. Now it's 3:30, so you're talking about 30 more minutes of this action, and I probably would not trade anymore as we come into the rest of the day. And yeah, that's throw in the towel, end of story, end of day kind of thing. And again, just like we did before, we'll go into data. We'll go here. We have a 0.5 plus 2.31. We have a 0.5. And remember, we missed actually a few really good trades. Actually, one specific really good trade that I can think of right now. But that's okay, right? Because all we've done is we've shown up every single day for the most part, right? I've shown up for the most part every single day to record these specific videos to demonstrate what an EVC of a lower time frame might look like. And notice how a lot of the time it's just a game of being there, doing it for a long time, and waiting and waiting and waiting for good entries, and then taking the entries based on the setups. And we've added to our bottom line now, right? And let's see after that where that puts us in the analysis curve. I mean, this is beautiful. This is why we do what we do. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Yep, you can. Okay. This is why we do what we do. We are overall profitable. Everything looks really good. We have 86 trades after the few days of action. This is not even including that corn trade. Just following a very, very basic lower time frame EVC, trading very specific stage 2 or clean markets, letting ourselves be the final frontier of choice of whether or not something is worth taking, of the confidence that we put behind each trade that we potentially do take, and being aware of the fact that we are correct when we take a trade that we take, even if we end up taking a loss. Because again, the losses and the break-evens, the way that you manage your downside, the way that you make sure your downside remains small, guarantees that over time, you do well for yourself. Right, on a $100,000 account at 1% risk, we're looking at a compounded balance currently of $144,000. This is insane. For a lot of you, this is more than you could ever imagine from your trading. And again, I want you to remember as you watch this application material video and you keep working through these, you have the exact tools in front of you to make use of this. Right? I haven't done anything necessarily special in this. All I've shown you is what patience, system, and risk management look like put together and applied to a system. And I'm not doing some secret little fucking technology that's leading me to make the decisions like with this clear emotions and everything. It's simply a question of, have you tested it? Do you have the confidence behind the testing? Go and execute it and make sure you take the stuff that's clear. Otherwise, you're shooting yourself in the foot for no reason. And that's it. I'll see you all when you're funded. Let me know. All right, bye guys.